What's up? What's up? Who's watching right now? What's up, Igor? What's going on? We're doing a lot more of these live feeds on unlisted YouTube videos on Patreon. So, Igor, if you can, man, get on top tier. You can start seeing a lot of the more lives, and we're shooting and more explaining on the YouTube live. So on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, when I train, I'll go live on some of the main lifts and actually talk about what we're doing. But then I just post it on Patreon so those guys can see it. What's up, Joe? So, yep. So, yeah. So if you guys aren't already on Patreon, make sure you guys get on there because you'll see a lot more of the content that we're doing. I'm getting my schedule set up where I have a lot more content that I'm putting out on that channel now. Just setting everything up correctly and getting my schedule right. It's taking some time, but we're getting it situated. The talk today, no, I don't really have any topic that I'm gonna cover today. I was kind of thinking about it on the way here. I think one of the biggest things that I saw a good friend of mine, Jason Brown, talking about not having to deload every fourth week, and I'm not sure I agree with that. I do think that deloading needs to occur every 30 days. I've just seen it too much in multiple Soviet translated manuals. What's up, MJ? So you do need to back your training down. I'd say once every 30 days, some way, shape, or form. If you're on the top tier Patreon workouts, you'll notice that things will change. What's up, Jason? Things will change or come down every 3 or 4 weeks to let the body actually adjust. And the major reason for that is to allow the ligaments and tendons to play catch up. So if you do, hopefully when the book comes out, you'll see a lot of the research that I've done over the last 5 to 7 years on that. Ligaments and tendons, as we well know, in the last 60 years from research and from just trial and error, is that ligaments and tendons tend to adapt to training through the lymphatic system, not necessarily the cardiovascular system. So muscles have a jump start always on the ability to recover and adapt to training faster than ligaments and tendons by a pretty decent margin. What's going on, cardiac kid? What's happening? So you need to back down a little bit to allow passive tissue for recovery. But it really only matters for people that are ultra consistent. And that's the biggest issue, I think. And probably what Jason Brown's talking about is, or posted about, was most people miss a day, a week here and there. Most people are not consistent with training, and they build in their deloads by default. So weight vest walks, weight vest hill sprints. Ross, yeah, if you, I do some weight vest work. My driveway is insanely long, so when I go out and get my mail, I'll throw on a weight vest to go grab it, which is about a quarter of a mile walk each way. But programming them, I'm not necessarily sure. Again, like, you have to be careful sprinting. Most people that would do sprinting or things of that nature with added weight or weight vest, or sprinting in and of itself, are putting a lot more pressure on their body than they may be ready for. So although it's really cool to see higher, more advanced athletes like Josh Bryant, etc., doing hill sprints, or even I've had hill sprints in the workouts. If you've ever been on the Patreon or got any of the manuals, they're there, but I'm always cautious because I've seen more injury with plyometric based training or high explosive training than I have lifting heavy. And I've lifted heavy a lot and had a lot of my clients train heavy a lot. The problem is virtual force. Virtual force is things that you cannot see. And so jumping, bounding, sprinting, oftentimes are putting more pressure in the body than lifting heavy because of the impact force. And until you study ground reaction force plates for jumps and sprints, you have no clue of how much pressure you're putting in your body when you're doing that stuff. And so with that being said, are your ligaments, tendons, and passive tissue adapted to training enough to be able to sustain that without getting injured? And the answer for most people is no. So again, you can see my hesitation on why I don't really prescribe to just an average person asking me, again, Andrew Ross, about weight vest walks and sprints. Now, the weight vest walks are fine, but it also depends on when you time them, because if you go on a decent weight vest walk and you trash your upper back for holding the extra weight, and then you deadlift tomorrow, or you're lifting heavy legs tomorrow, it could be detrimental. So I think the hard part is this: you have to kind of sneak a lot of that stuff in under the radar and not really shock the body too bad with too long a distance or too much time under those variations. So you can see right now I'm walking on a treadmill. I'm on a slight incline. I'm at 2.8 miles an hour, which for my leg speed is pretty decent. So my heart rate, I'll have to check it here in another 5 minutes or so. I try to put it at around 125 where I can still talk, but I'm having to work a little bit. So talk about GPP work on the off season. Well, Igor, a lot of that information is still, again, it's on top of your Patreon. We have those conditioning workouts, especially on Train Heroics, a little bit cheaper. We do GPP stuff, but the whole reasoning behind developing the Wenning warm-up was to kind of put all that together and condense the training. And so what I found is that when we were lifting at Louie's place, for example, we would have a squat and deadlift workout and take 2.5 hours, which was way too long. And as we condensed the training in tighter, the conditioning and GPP went up higher. Therefore, the transfer to raw strength was higher. Athleticism was better. But GPP is difficult to develop when you're a high-level powerlifter, especially in the heavier weight classes, because you're going to expend so much energy training that extra energy on the other days is going to be detrimental. So when competing, doing extra, you have to be very careful with it, extremely careful with it. But I remember that was the biggest balance, is like once I got over 1,100 pound squats in gear or 825 plus squats raw, my body just didn't have the energy to do the extra stuff. I'm actually in better GPP shape now than I was competing. But there's a trade-off at some point. Here in Michigan, this guy, Dan, who owns Two Goals Gyms in Warren and Taylor, he went on trial and snitched on some Albanians. Taylor location, and the gym has gone. I don't know anything about that, buddy. At West Side, we didn't really do a lot of extra workouts. Louis did that because he didn't have a job, and he would go in probably just bored and would drag a lot of sleds and stuff, and he would come back in the afternoons. So we would train in the mornings, and he would come back in the afternoons and do work with the evening crew, like you're talking about these mini workouts or GPP. But we were all working, so a lot of us had second shift jobs, or afternoon, evening jobs, so we could train in the morning. So I think extra GPP can be warranted and utilized, but you have to be really careful with it. The extra wide powerlifting style bench is now gone. I ain't using regular commercial size benches. Big dude, I just don't have the support. Extra wide powerlifting style bench is now gone. I don't know what you're, Jason, I don't know what you're saying on that. You're talking about the extra wide pad? I'm trying to think of what else to cover. Yeah, but we were back on the original deloading, guys. Definitely build in a deload. If you're training very consistently, definitely build in deloads every 4 weeks. Absolutely, without a doubt. I've seen it in too many high-level books to refute. Human Kinetics said that the book is going to start really supercharging into editing in June, so we have another month. I know they're at chapter, I think 5 right now, so I think they're going to try to knock the next few chapters out in the summer. What's going on, Daniel? What's happening? Hopefully. It's crazy. I turned that book in as a not a final edit, but my final edit in May or June of 2023. And so we're almost at the 2-year mark of Human Kinetics having the book and kind of sitting on it and working on it. But I will say this, the chapters that we're getting back, that I'm getting back to final proofread edit, are really good. And they didn't change a ton, which is frustrating because I wish they would just hurry up and get it done, even though I know that the amount of work and effort I put into the book is probably not going to be very monetarily valuable. I don't know, Igor. I have no idea. That's all in Human Kinetics' hands. They don't tell me shit. All I know is when I get chapters back to revise. That's all I know. But again, if you want a jump start on all that stuff, Igor, you need to get on, like I said, get on Patreon, and you can follow the workouts. And I post a lot of educational stuff. The membership part of the website also has chapters, not chapters of the book, but it has similar information done in video format. No, I'm not really big into arm wrestling shit. To me, it's just, I don't know. It's goofy. You know, I left all my competition blood on the platform. You know, I mean, I like to go work out still. I think there was a dividing factor at about 34, 35, where I had 2 or 3 years left of competing. 2 or 3 years left of competing at 35, and I knew that if I pushed it another, which I did, till 38, it was just going to burn me out of just competing in general. And so at 38, when I decided to retire, from competitive powerlifting, I think it's weird because I think I see a lot of the guys, and I'm not speaking for them, so I don't know, but a lot of the guys that have flipped over into arm wrestling bowed out of competing, and some of us are friends, but I think they had more left in the tank in powerlifting. You know, they were either one, just getting too unhealthy, or two, they had too many injuries, and so they flip over to arm wrestling, which is fine. I mean, I don't have any issues with it, but for me personally, I trained insanely smart, no injuries, and that really let me push as far as I could go. I just don't have any desire to compete in anything else, really. Oh, so you're already on the membership thing, Igor? That's cool. This Precore thing's hard to set up this phone on. But yeah, if you guys can, Igor, I don't see you guys commenting on the new YouTube videos guys dropping. So if you guys can, go make a comment, and every Wednesday at about 3 p.m. Eastern, I post a new YouTube video, a longer one. If you guys can, go make comments on those and share them around. I'd like to get that channel popping. It's a lot of work. I'm enjoying strongman coming on arm wrestling scene. It's been interesting to watch. Yeah, I bet. I don't know. To me, it's just I exhausted myself physically so bad competing. I pushed my body past every mental and physical limit that I thought that I had, and so I'm still kind of working my way out of that rut. I still like I said, I still like to go in the gym and train, and when the guys in the gym max, I'll still go kind of heavy. But now it's more of a balancing act with maintaining good health and still staying pretty strong. And kind of converting more over into coaching, and I feel like I'm a way better coach now than I was even 10 years ago, just because the focus now is on the clients and the contracts, and it's not so much on me. When I was younger and I was still competing, to be at that level for me personally, I had to be very self-absorbed. I had to be the strongest guy in the room. I had to be, the guy with the best technique. And some of that's still true, but it's more now, how can I get somebody else better? Yeah, the new bench tips is posted as solid. It's funny because I feel like the better videos that I post on YouTube get the least amount of views, which I just can't grasp. Once I feel like, I finally got it understood, the algorithm's picking up my shit, and then all of a sudden just boom, and it changes or something's different. So I don't know. I just need a really hard base of people that push those videos around for me that help. Because to me, a lot of those videos gives such good information for channels that have millions and millions of subscribers. And I'm like, when the fuck is my time? I've been doing those videos for fucking 7-8 years. Igor, you're not going to be able to take the same amount of magnesium that I take because of the body weight differences. I don't know how much you weigh, but we would need to do a bioprint on you to find out how much magnesium you need. Can you really get strong with minimal equipment at home? My personal opinion, no. I think that, not that you can't get stronger, but I think the problem with getting strong with only minimal shit is the mileage. Again, if you've been reading or studying any of my theoreticals, is the major reason you need variety is for reduction in mileage. That's how you get strong, is you're able to push harder longer, so therefore the body must adjust to the training. Versus if you have the exact same movements, exercises, and equipment, then what ends up happening is your body gets accustomed to it, then it creates a block to it, and then you start getting overuse problems. So my opinion is, just like if you want to build a really nice race car or a nice show car, you can't do it with a screwdriver and a hammer. You're going to need paint guns, you're going to need welders, you're going to need sheet metal tools, you're going to need ratchets and sockets and all these things. Now, it doesn't mean that you need to have all of it at once. You can do it a piece at a time, but you need a variety of bars, and you need chains, and you need bands eventually. You need boxes. You need belt squats, because you're going to need to increase volume without increasing mileage. So all these things are insanely important, and they become almost a must at a certain level. The people that refute needing variety are usually the ones that are either one, never been good for very long, or two, they retire super early because they have a bunch of injuries. So I think the variety really helps mitigate the mileage. Collabs with other strength coaches. Yeah, I have had collabs with other strength coaches. If you go back and look at the YouTube channel, I've done stuff with Kazmaier and Michael Hearn, and yeah, that's the problem, is really, you hit the nail on the head, Jason, is people only want to see drama. I'm like everybody else, I go on channels to look for ideas, and every time I get on there, you got fucking people talking about Wes Watson or busting balls on, I think Mike, is it Mike Duche, or that's all he does on that channel is just talk shit about people. And it gets a boatload of views. I've done stuff with Squat University. And again, I'm not consistent with doing stuff with other people, which is probably one of the issues. But I think the problem is that because cable TV has kind of axed like where they're dead or they just don't do it anymore, like Geraldo and like Jerry Springer and, you know, I'm trying to think of all the old ones. They don't have talk shows like that anymore. And so what does it do? It filtrates over to social media. And now, you know, everybody wants to talk shit about Mitch Hooper's whatever's going on with him right now, which I don't even know. Deloads are bullshit, Jason Brown. Yeah, I think it just depends. You know, that's a good one, Jason Brown. I don't know, though. I don't know if I'd have posted that just because there's just so much, you know, I've seen it in Medvedev and Verkhoshansky and Bondarchuk, and you see that a deload every 30 days is almost one of the only things that's concrete in each of those high-level professors. But I'll agree with you that most people that we're talking to on YouTube or on social media probably don't need deloads because they're not training consistent enough. But if you're super consistent with training, I think that you have to mind passive tissue. You have to back down and let the tissues that are passive, that don't necessarily respond to training at the same rate as active tissue, you need to make sure that those are accounted for, because we get muscle tears, right? But a lot of times I think the injuries that we see are most of the times passive tissue. Yes, Wenning and stand efforting. Yeah, I've done stuff with stand efforting. But yeah, I think that's the problem is social media, it's all become about drama, you know? It's not trying to give you good information. It's not, you know, it's not, it's all about creating like friction and drama. And to me, it's like, leave that shit, like who cares? Like I know there's a bunch of shit going on about, I don't even know what about with Hooper. I don't give a shit. Like, let him go win World's Strongest Man. Let him do this, let him do that. Why do we have to be in everybody's personal business? It doesn't really matter. None of us are clean. All of us have, you know, pasts and histories and poor judgments, and so what? So we're gonna just market that? Bust out the grill and chef apron and cook up some shit to show people what you eat. If you actually go watch, I have posted multiple videos on what I eat on YouTube, and guess how many views those got? You know, so a lot of the things that you're talking about, I've already done. They just don't ever get viral, which is whatever. So, Jason, we got to do another podcast pretty soon and figure out what context we want to talk about. Maybe we should do one on deloads, and then I can bust out all the books and give you some references on that. Some of those books I've had for 25 or 30 years, I think. But yeah, I think that's unfortunate because I watch. Yeah, I know you probably do, Jason. It's tough, you know. I'm not gimmicky. I sell hard work. I sell consistency, and those two things are not conducive for being popular. I can tell you that. Nobody wants to hear the truth. You know, everybody wants to hear some fairy tale on how to get better in 30 days or, you know, some fad diet. I mean, hell, even my buddy Mark Bell is doing some sugar diet thing, knowing damn well he doesn't eat much sugar because he's built like a fucking Ethiopian now. But, you know, the point is it's all about that shock factor, and I just don't play those games. I just don't give a shit, you know. So that's a lot of my problem. So we've been throwing a decent amount of newer exercises into the Patreon workouts, if you guys aren't already on there. I think that would help with your variety. And we're also, on the Patreon workouts, we're mindful of people having minimal equipment. So the nice thing about Patreon is if something's written or you see a video and you don't have that piece, you can personally message me and then ask me, hey, what would you alternate or utilize instead of this because I don't have that, blah, blah, blah. Which is really why I made the app in the first place, was to get people higher level training so they could actually have some one-on-one interaction with a high level coach and not have to spend a boatload of money. But I think the economy is just so bad right now. I was actually at the Harley Davidson dealer yesterday. I had my bike out and stopped to see some friends that have worked there for years, and it's just a ghost town. Same thing with the car dealership that I work for. Nobody's buying anything right now. Everybody's hoarding money. Interest rates are high. And I think the first thing you see is luxury items are the ones that first get the hit. So motorcycles, new cars, fitness, things like that tend to be not as important as gas, roof, and groceries, right? I don't really market, I market to everyone. I think the problem that the average people see is they think that what I'm talking about is for elite people, and it's really not. It's for normal everyday people. I mean, if we look at my clientele base, like my firemen, for example, that I'll train here in about 25 minutes, they're not elite. They're okay. They don't make every workout. They don't do everything. I think the stigma, I talked about this with Dave Tate, and Dave Tate's in the same boat, is you come from an elite level area like a West Side Barbell or something like that, and then everybody automatically kind of puts you in this, this circle of, hey, this stuff's only for high level equipped lifters or raw elite powerlifters or tactical or this or that. In reality, a lot of the fundamental ideas of everything are similar. And I always say this: everyone can learn from elite people, but very few can learn, where there's really not a lot to learn from average. Meaning, like, the problem is most people may look up to me like, well, Matt's been an elite level athlete and squatted 1,200 pounds and has had world records. His stuff doesn't matter to me. Well, I had to be average at 1.2 and work myself up there. So a lot of times people with knowledge that is higher, they've been at that level and know how to get past it. And so I think what you see now is this trend in the fitness industry that everybody goes towards aesthetics, right? And they don't have to be strong. And a lot of times those aesthetics, not that it doesn't take work for some people, but have we seen pictures of like Ronnie Coleman when he was drug free? He was still a fucking freak. He was still a badass. I don't think people realize that, Like, being elite is just a choice. Being average, you can learn from elite people that have already been there. What's up, Nomad? Get back to work, man. Log pressing tomorrow. Oh, no. Yep, that's what I keep telling myself, Nomad Jedi Master. I've been doing it. I've been building myself up for years. And I think the problem is most people don't realize that whatever you're building yourself up is education, physical fitness, strength, it's not linear, it's waves. Most people can't handle the waves. Longest plateau on bench was I was stuck at 500 for about almost 3 years. And I remember, that's raw, I was stuck at 500 raw for almost 3 years, and I kept trying to figure out what was going on, what I was doing right. Test-wise, my doctors have me on 100 milligrams a week, which puts me at about 700 in my blood work, which is right in the middle, a little bit above the middle. So, natural T levels are between 250 and 900. I try to stay around 650, 700. So that's what the doctors have me on to keep me right, because my hematocrit and hemoglobin are right in the middle, and all my other numbers are right in the middle. So that's kind of a good testosterone doctor, or a doctor in general that's going to prescribe testosterone, is going to try to get you to have your testosterone a little bit above average, but not mess up any other numbers. And that can be complex and trial and error. A1C is 5.6. I took prednisone. My knee swelled up out of nowhere for some reason last year, and it messed up my blood sugar for a little bit. And then when I got off the prednisone, it kind of stagnated for a while, and now it's back into normal. Before I took the prednisone, my A1C was like 5.2. Yeah, you just gotta keep figuring it out. And the problem is, as you get older, or you get more knowledge, it gets more and harder to balance, because my blood work probably looks better than it ever has before, but it's because I have the right team members. I had other doctors beforehand that were kind of ignoring other things, or they just weren't proficient at getting other things perfect. The nephrologist that I go to now seems to be pretty on point with endocrinology and getting all that stuff straightened out, so that's good. Regina, you don't need to be on this page, so I don't know what you're talking about. If you're in the pro ranks and you don't get drug tested, how is it cheating, number one? And number two, if I have blood tests done every, back then when I was competing every, say, 6 months, my blood work was never extremely high. So, but anyway, so the point being is, I think on this talk is, make sure you're deloading every 4 weeks. Make sure that you're getting blood work done so you can see where everything's at, and make sure that you're optimizing as much as you can. I think the other big thing we have to think about is make sure you understand that we were so close, weren't we, MJ? Now we get all this other fucking people. I don't even know how other people see that I'm live. Like, I ought to set it up where you just have to be subscribing. You ever explore why you justify what happened in your childhood? I don't know. Do you ever justify why you waste your time, like getting on here and commenting on shit you don't know anything about? I always wonder about that. But yeah, I think from now on, I think you're gonna have to be a subscriber on the channel. But yeah, so my childhood was actually pretty normal. I grew up in a pretty decent neighborhood. I think the only thing that was really weird in my childhood was just getting hit by that car and breaking my legs, and then I was bedridden for a year. So coming out of that, I had to rebuild myself to even be able to run. I remember not really being able to walk really well for probably a solid 6 months or so. But wasn't bullied. So I actually had a pretty good elementary and middle school. High school was pretty good. But would you do a jiu-jitsu manual? Actually, yeah, I thought about doing that. And it's funny because a lot of the guys that are on the Train Heroic Tactical, some of them are doing jiu-jitsu on top of the Train Heroic Tactical app, and that would be a good viable solution for you on that, CJR, for sure. Yeah, it was pretty rough. Yeah, Muay Thai as well. We got a lot of guys on the Train Heroic apps they do Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, kickboxing, things of that nature. My mom was working. I think my dad was working too. I had I think my grandma's friend was at the house at the time. We were riding bicycles out in the neighborhood, which was kind of an enclosed neighborhood. And I was right next to the pool, which was a membership pool. And we were riding, and the lady was driving drunk and hit me at about 50 miles an hour and broke my legs. So probably not, I would say, super uncommon now with cell phones, but that was, yeah, it was pretty traumatic. I remember waking up in the ambulance, being in the balloon pants. My right leg was broken 6 places, my left in 4, and I had a shattered pelvis, and all my hair was ripped out from my head. It was a pretty rough kindergarten to first grade, I can tell you that. I actually had to go and live with my great-grandmother because my 2 other siblings were younger and they didn't want them crawling or jumping on my legs. So I went and lived with my great-grandma for about a year and was homeschooled, and then came back to school, and I want to say 10 or so weeks into 2nd grade. And so yeah, how do you be mad at your parents for not protecting you from a drunk driver? What the fuck, man? So here you go, guys. Let me help you guys out real quick. User. Yeah, I don't know where that's coming from, Jayco. It's pretty funny, but you're not going to see those guys, at least on those accounts anymore. I don't know. Let's see here. User channel. People are just ridiculous. How do you feel about the ability to use AI for creating workouts? I don't really know, Josh Nichols. You know, that's a good question. I think it's one of those things that it still has a long way to go, and you know, AI will never be able to be a person that's went through the training to know when enough is enough or too much is too much. I do think it's a good idea, maybe to create ideas, but I think we have to be careful with that. I think that having real coaches is very important, especially ones that are seasoned, tenured. You know, they have a lot of years of experience. Minimal or no injuries is important. But yeah, AI is changing a lot of different things, I think, right now. It's definitely a different landscape for sure, but I don't know that you can utilize it verbatim, and I still see it make quite a few errors, you know, and so I think that's an issue as well. But I think that hopping on apps like what I make every week and things like that are still going to be far superior, because the thing that AI is missing is taking the workouts, like the workouts that go on, say, for instance, Train Heroic Tactical. All of the guys that are going to get trained today at the firehouse are going to go through that app, and I'm going to see how they react to it. I'm going to get feedback in the next couple of days: too sore, you know, not enough, too much, too little, and make adjustments from there. I'm not sure the AI will ever have the power for that. Yeah, the car wreck was crazy. You know, honestly, it's weird. I don't remember much about that day. I just remember waking up in the hospital. I remember waking up a little bit before my first surgery. I had to get 3 surgeries on my right leg and 2 on my left. But yeah, it was weird. I mean, it was. I remember the pins being through my legs in multiple places, and I was kind of crazy at that time. I remember my Dr. Matchett, the guy that fixed my legs, the orthopedic surgeon, I actually pulled my own pins out of my legs, because if I could feel me doing it, it didn't hurt. But if I had somebody else pull on the pins or something, then I didn't like that feeling. Schaefer, I don't think we need to go there, buddy. Let's see here. I don't know why you guys... So, hopefully I'll see you guys on the apps. Talk to you guys soon. Take it easy. See you later.